We were trying to come up with a theme for the conference, and of course, we all know, having lived in Northwest Ohio, what a wonderful place it is and how many wonderful things there are to do, and especially as far as the natural resources go, we're very fortunate. So we started talking about the things in Northwest Ohio that we are proudest of and that we wanted to showcase.
When the conference committee first began meeting, we wanted to choose a theme to go with the conference. And this area, when you think of it from an outside viewpoint, it's very flat and boring looking. But we have a lot of really great features, and we wanted to emphasize those features. So we chose the gems to highlight some of those features, such as the Great Black Swamp, the Maumee River, savannas, etc. So that is why we chose that theme, and we really hope that you can learn a little bit more about Northwest Ohio when you attend the conference.
This year's event is being held at Camp Miaconda, which is one of the oldest Boy Scouts camps in America. And it used to be kind of outside of the city of Toledo, but the city has kind of grown up around it with its suburbs and everything. So it's really kind of right smack in the middle of the city now, but it's beautiful acreage, and we're very fortunate to have it.
And we wanted an outdoor place where we could have some outdoor time as well as some indoor time with this group. We think that's important. And the camp setting is very conducive to networking and having a good time, having a bonfire, etc. We just think it'll be a really nice fit.
From an Ohio Certified Volunteer Naturalist viewpoint, I don't think a lot of people come up to Northwest Ohio as a destination, unfortunately, and unfortunately for them. But it is a destination place. We have wonderful natural resources, and we're very proud of them. And OCVNs, being naturalists, of course, are going to love it here also. We have, the Maumee River. We have all sorts of resources in Oak Openings, and our metro parks are incredible. We have Wood County Parks, which is incredible on the other side of the river. So we're very well balanced in Northwest Ohio and very proud of our heritage.
Northwest Ohio has some great little pockets of biodiversity. We have different ecosystems within one park district. You can have 3-4 different ecosystems. It's really fascinating. Everything from sand dunes to swampy areas.
As a naturalist, lots of things excite me about Northwest Ohio. It's not a great place where you see huge mountains or seascapes, but instead it requires that you look a little bit closer at some of the beautiful natural processes that are going on there. It's a glaciated part of Ohio, and so it has remnant Great Black Swamp, which is one of our gems. It also has this wonderful Erie marshlands. The Lake Erie marshlands bring in so many birds in the spring. It's a very important flyway. And then, of course, we have the Maumee River, which just looms over Northwest Ohio and has all sorts of neat history associated with it, and a natural history, like the Bowling Green Fault is here, and we have some wonderful rapids on the Maumee River. And then finally, we have our savannas of the Oak Openings region. These are globally rare communities that have all sorts of beautiful wildflowers, a lot of ground nesting birds, and more nesting birds in the Oak Openings than anywhere else in Ohio. So there are lots of things to get excited about as a naturalist in Northwest Ohio.
For people that are visiting Kitty Todd, they are in for a treat. The Oak Openings has more rare plants and animals than anywhere in the state of Ohio, and Kitty Todd is the focal point of all those rare species. It's privately owned by the Nature Conservancy. It's seldom open to the public for just tours, so this is going to be a real treat. So April is the time when everything's waking up. You're going to get some of the early spring migrant birds coming through. The lark sparrows, which are one of the Oak Openings rarities, are actually setting up territories by the end of April. You're going to see red-headed woodpeckers. You'll see bluebirds. There's quite a few bluebirds in the oak savanna areas. And your ears will probably be serenaded with the sound of lots of frogs. There's quite a few, especially in the wet prairie areas, there's quite a few amphibians that are singing their hearts out. This is the main breeding season then in March, April for amphibians in the Oak Openings. You won't hear the salamanders, but in some of the deep ponds, they'll be there laying eggs. You may be lucky enough to see the spotted turtle. Bill, another oak openings rarity. They are at the peak of their breeding season towards late April, mid to late April. Some other things as far as plants go, the little sundews are waking up, you'll see those. A lot of things going on in the wet areas. The iris will be blooming, there may be some stargrass. In the drier areas, you'll see remnants of the cactus that cover some of the hills. The lupin will start to actually put up lots of vegetation. You'll miss the lupin flowers. You need to come back really in May for those. But it's a huge time of awakening in the prairies, both the wet prairies, the barrens, and even in the savannas themselves. So it's kind of exciting. It's like a promise of another prairie season.
My wife Chris and I will be leading a field trip at Farnsworth Park as part of the OCVN conference this year. We're going to concentrate heavily on some of the wildflowers in the park. We're expecting to see some wild ginger, some bloodroot, probably also trout lily, and cut leaf toothwort as well. Also, the park is dominated heavily by the Maumee River that the park runs along, so we'll have good views of that. Also, from a geological perspective, we have the Bowling Green Fault. It's one of the few spots you can actually see the fault. So we'll hopefully take a trip there depending on the water levels.
Irwin Prairie is a part of the oak openings region. It's a low, wet sand prairie. And the most wonderful thing about Irwin Prairie in the spring, in my opinion, are the frog choruses. So we will hear deafening frogs, spring peepers, western chorus frogs. If it's warm enough and if it's a still night, we'll hear gray tree frogs. We'll probably hear some leopard frogs with their little low growl. So that will be really special. The other thing that I'm excited about at Irwin Prairie on April 25th is the woodcocks will be doing their flight rituals. We'll hear them, and we'll probably see them fly up because we'll be there when the time is right at sunset. And on the way back, we may hear snipe up in the sky right at Irwin Road because they like to fly around there. So we will hear some neat nighttime birds as well.
First of all, I'm just really flattered to be the keynote because this is really a daunting crowd for me. I've worked with naturalists my whole life and respected them a lot, and sometimes people lump me in as knowing as much as they do, and I'm not at all sure that's the case. But what I do bring is that sort of common man's approach to nature. See things visually in terms of shape and texture and color and so on. So that's really what I want to do, is just sort of excite people with photography about the outdoors. So much of what we have around here is really hard to understand unless you've got a little background to it. You have to experience it. Talking about the oak openings doesn't get you to what the oak openings really is. Being there is best. Having some sort of visual image to communicate with is next best. So that's what I hope to do, is get people excited about all the treasures that we have here, to do it with photography, and hopefully inspire some people to go out and appreciate what we have. And by extension, work harder even than they already do. There's lots of people that work hard to preserve Ohio nature, but to work even harder to do it, because nature needs a spokesman.
What I find interesting about Northwest Ohio is even though it's initially you think it's a very sort of monoculture because of its flatness, as you discover more about it, you discover that there is a huge variety there. And in fact, you find out that Lucas County is home to some of the largest number of rare plants in Ohio. And it's really, even though it's, again, seems very flat, it's got an enormous number of sort of subcultures from an ecological perspective. So it's interesting to learn about all those.
Northwest Ohio is an incredibly special place, but it's hard to see that sometimes. And the reason is we're all in tune with, let's go to the Grand Canyon and see the big scene. Let's go to Montana and see the big sky, and do it because that stuff is just fantastic. But I asked a gentleman much more intelligent than me, very accomplished naturalist, Harold Mayfield, one time, what was to compare the wilderness in Alaska with what we have here, which is obviously not untouched wilderness anymore. And he said in a very scholarly way, very basically, I won't do his words justice, but what you have in Alaska is the big wide open spaces where the big mammals can survive. We don't have that, but what we have is good soil, good water, good climate. And Harold pointed out that if you look at how many different species there are in an acre here versus an acre there, we're much richer than anything to be found in Alaska, and by extension, many, many, many other places. The difference is we don't have the big vistas. You've got to look down, look carefully, look at pieces. So we're as a photographer, that's a long way of saying, as a photographer, to me what's fascinating is the macro photography, the close-up photography. That's our diversity, that's our beauty, that's our just incredible species to be found out there. And that's, in a nutshell, that's what's so special about the oak openings too. You've got so many habitats in so little space with so many species relying on it. It's fascinating, and once you get out there and get headed in the right direction, you need to have that little key of what to look for. And once you do, everything opens up, and this becomes a really special place to be.
On Saturday of the conference, we have many presentations. We're excited about how many we have. The OCVN committee really did a search, and many of our experts from Northwest Ohio are coming in. Each session will have at least 4 choices. We have people talking about geology. We have people featuring the oak openings region. We have some wonderful talks on actual specific wildlife, such as salamanders. And I think we're going to have a very nice variety for people to choose from. The other thing that we did, because we know some people love this, is we have at least one option every time outside. So we will have outside and indoor activities that you can choose from when you make your choice in the brochure.
If you're thinking about attending the conference in April, but you're just not sure about it, I really hope you'll reconsider, because Northwest Ohio is an incredible place.
And I've got a special offer or bribe for those who want to come on the Kitty Todd Walk. We've got a guide to the oak openings for homeowners.
We're going to have a great time. You'll learn a whole lot, and I think you're going to want to come back to Northwest Ohio after you've come to the conference. So please come.